All right, so to recap where we are trying to remove the O2 sensor. Now, to get to the O2 sensor, we have to take this off and then this plate off right here. Now, I had removed this collar up here, and I had removed this collar right here, but the problem is I didn't have enough room to wiggle this back and forth to take it out. So what I had to do is I had to remove this from the back, and you do that by removing this bolt right here, this bolt right here, and then this bolt right here. Then there's a piece that goes into this right here. You just have to yank really hard on it. It's not held in by anything. Don't be afraid, just pull on it. And then also be careful because there is this wire. I can't access the wire to disconnect it. So what I did is I laid a towel down across my spoiler and I put this piece on it. Now this gives me enough room to work on getting this out, and then I'll actually be able to access the O2 sensors and then swap it out. So we just got this cooler box out, and I had to remove this fitting right here, and then the blow-off valve fitting. And then the next step is to remove this plate right here. Here's the box out, and then yeah, so we're gonna remove this plate, and then once we remove this plate, the O2 sensor is literally like right here. Beautiful, we got the plate out. So now what we're looking at is, apparently this is, I guess, the header, the catalytic converter right in here. So all you CHP who are watching this, yes, catalytic converter, street legal, I'm all good. But here's the O2 sensor that we're gonna be replacing, and then I gotta follow the wire. I think it goes back to right in here. I just unclip it. But yeah, so we're gonna crack this loose now, and then we're going to be replacing it. Super simple. And just for reference, this is the OEM replacement O2 sensor post-cat. This is from the dealer. I think it was like 200, 250 bucks or something like that. So hopefully no more check engine light after this. Now, I don't know how many of you are mechanics and have worked on cars and have done O2 sensors before, but I've done a lot of O2 sensors before in the past, and they're always such a hassle to break loose. This one, look at that. I didn't have the camera in my hand, but I literally cracked it loose with like almost like no force. So I think now that it's loose, yeah, I can just do it with my fingers. So I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna unscrew it with my fingers, then I'm gonna unhook the electronic side of it, and I'm gonna pull it out. Just for fun, here's the old one and the new one. You can see, obviously, the old one is a bit dirty. I wouldn't really say it's fouled up, but it's definitely a bit dirty, a little bit rusty too. And then this is the brand new one. Already comes with anti-seize. And yeah, so we're just gonna pop this bad boy in and put everything back together. Super important thing to mention, when you remove this plate, I didn't notice, but in between the plate and the bracket where the screw goes through, there's actually some spacers, and they're on each corner, and I didn't realize that. So when I took the plate off, I kind of just grabbed it and pulled it, and my spacers fell way down into the engine and I couldn't get them. So I had to find either washers or some other type of metal spacer to replace them with. So keep that in mind if you're working on a Sheepy Race R8 and you have to take this tank off and this plate off, there are spacers underneath this plate. So just keep that in mind and be careful and go slow when you're taking the plate off. All right, next we got the tank going back. All right, so we got the box put back in, and what we did is we pushed this up onto the intake manifold. We reattached it down here to this fitting, installed the two collars, and then make sure you plug it in right here, and then make sure you get the blow-off valve plugged back in as well, and then don't forget to tighten these back on as well. And then the next step is I'm gonna reinstall this. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna start up the car, make sure it runs good before I start putting everything back together. Success! Now I just have to put all the trim pieces back on, and we can pull this bad boy out of the garage, take it for a test drive, and see if the performance is better, and see if that check engine light for the O2 sensor comes back on. All right, we got this back piece back on. All we have to do is make sure there's a little nub in here that goes into a hole. It's right underneath this part. Just line up these screws over here, and then once they're lined up, There's like a tab over here, pop that in, pop this in, and then screw that in, and then screw that in, and then there's one right here to screw in as well. Now comes the fun part of making the car look pretty by putting these trim pieces back on. So what we do is we install this one first, and what we do is we take it, and when we put it on over here, this hole right here goes around this strut. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pop this tab right here, and then when it falls down, you want to hold this up with one hand, or if you have a friend, have somebody hold this up, put this strut through that hole that I had mentioned over there, and then put it through, and then put this back on, and then when you slide it down, it'll slide right into place right here, and then you can continue with bolting it back on. Don't forget to clip in your light while you're over here. All right, once you got this carbon fiber piece seated, we're gonna wanna take this trim piece and slide it into place like so. And then once it's slid into place, slowly screw these in, just finger tight, just as a placeholder for the time being. Okay, after these three are finger tight, we're gonna grab the 3 bolts that go up in here. But before we do that, we're gonna take the one plastic screw and we're gonna seat it in right here. And it just kind of pops in, and then once you pop it in, you just give it a little quarter turn and boom, done. Now these ones are a little bit more tricky, so I'm not gonna record it. I'm just gonna sit here and kind of fiddle with it. But basically what you wanna do is you want to look in here where the holes are, and you want to use your light and make sure that the holes are perfectly lined up. And then what I've been doing is I've been using a really long Allen wrench, and I've kind of just been seating it and then using the long Allen wrench to finger tight it. And then once it's finger tight, then I go back over and make it nice and tight all the way. So, and then once that's done, then I'll tighten these down all the way. I'm not going to record it because it's just boring and tedious, but those are the next steps. All right, after you get those 2 sides of trim pieces put back on, don't forget to pop this bad boy back on as well. Take one good look at everything, make sure you didn't miss anything, make sure nothing's loose. But other than that, we are all done. This was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, but it was really cool to work on this car and kind of learn about how it's set up and how everything is kind of put together in the back here. It's really awesome to work on a Sheepy race vehicle. But now I'm just going to start her up. We're going to go back up the driveway, try not to scrape, and then we're all done. It feels so good to get back on YouTube, and I look forward to making more videos and a lot more content for you guys. Also, I'm going to be pushing out a lot more YouTube shorts, so if you can, please be sure to watch, share, subscribe, like, notifications, all that good stuff. I always really appreciate your support, but at this point, this video has come to an end. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.